Breakdown family, let me ask you something. What happens when a society says you're good enough to build it, but not to count it? Good enough to power its economy, but not to manage its books? To run its machines, but not its math? That's the reality Black Americans face for over a century. And in 1969, a group of bold, brilliant Black professionals finally said, enough. They came together to form the National Association of Black Accountants, better known as NABA. Not just to create a network, but to build an institution, one that would open doors, challenge exclusion, and put Black minds at the center of America's financial systems. Now, from June 2nd to the 6th, I'll be in Las Vegas for the 2025 NABA Convention, one of the largest gatherings of Black finance and accounting professionals in the world. It's a space filled with brilliance, legacy, and power. But as I prepare to attend, I've also been thinking a lot about what this moment represents, especially as we're watching a national backlash against DEI, diversity programs, and organizations built to serve our communities. Let's be real. These attacks are not just policy debates. They are attempts to erase the very reason these institutions exist in the first place. And that's why today's story matters. Because when NABA was created in 1969, less than 1% of all CPAs in the U.S. were Black. Black professionals were being shut out of the boardrooms, the firms, and the numbers that shaped this country. And so, like we've always done, we've built our own. And that's why today's story matters. Now, over 50 years later, we've made real progress. There are more Black accountants, more Black CFOs, and more Black-owned firms than ever before. We're in the room now. In some rooms, we once thought we'd never enter. But let's be clear, the gap is still wide. Representation at the top, still low. Access to capital, still unequal. And the systems that locked us out, many are still alive and well, just wearing new clothes. So we have to tell this story, my people, not just to celebrate how far we've come, but to confront how far we still have to go. Because if we don't tell the truth about where we started, we risk forgetting why we built these institutions in the first place. And if we forget, it becomes that much easier for others to erase, defund, or dismantle them. So today on The Breakdown, we're unpacking the full story behind NABA and why it had to exist, the legacy of Black mathematicians, number crunchers, and economic architects, and why controlling the numbers is just as powerful as controlling the narrative. It's going to be a good one. But before we dive in, a big welcome to all of our new subscribers and members. I'm so thrilled you're here. And if you're watching and haven't joined us yet, consider this your personal invitation. We would love for you to be a part of our growing family here at Genius TV, where we bring you global Black stories that are told with truth, with care, and intention, and mobilize from talk to real action. And if this episode speaks to you, be sure to subscribe, tap the notification bell, drop a super thanks, and share it with your group chats, someone who needs to know about our channel and the work that we're doing here. All right, now, let's break it down. So to really understand why NABA had to exist, we have to go back to America in 1969, a time that was both full of momentum and full of barriers.
The title of doctor has always worked magic in Black social circles. They are most commonly identified as middle class. Along with them are the social workers, teachers, lawyers, and businessmen. The recent upsurge of militancy questioned their motives, attacked their status, and brought havoc to their cocktail parties. Instead of being called the black bourgeois, it was tightened up to plain booze. We asked some doctors to comment on the present upheaval.
The black middle class understands the problems of the disadvantaged blacks. Now, actually what happens is all of them don't do anything about it. You have certain organizations like ICBIF in the inner city is doing an excellent job to help with black businesses. And you have other black middle class actually who are not doing anything. They're for themselves. But I feel they definitely understand the problem.
But do they understand? Do they understand that black people do not want to ape the value system, to get caught up in the rat race which the hippie, the middle class child is fleeing from? I think if we recognize the fact that the middle class has contributed leadership, but not in themselves, but in their children, who reject their values and who want to build a new value system around their blackness.
The average middle class person here in Detroit, as across the nation, is very much in touch with the more disadvantaged blacks. This is, for the most part, because they have frequent relations with them in work and in many contacts throughout the day. Not only that, but so many have their origins in that group, if not financially, certainly in associations with them throughout schools and clubs.
The black middle class as it exists is a microcosm of the macrocosm. That is, it's a little picture in a big picture. The society, as it sets down the values through Madison Avenue, tells us what to like and what not to like. And to a degree, we're all middle class in a way, because we internalize these values without really realizing it.
The Civil Rights Act had been passed just 5 years earlier. MLK was already gone. Cities were still burning from uprisings in Newark, Detroit, and Watts. Black people were demanding seats at every table, in politics, in education, in business. But in the world of accounting and finance, we were pretty much invisible. In 1969, there were an estimated 100,000 certified public accountants in the United States. Now, guess how many were black? Only 136. No, not percent, people. 136. Think about that for a second. You could literally fit every black CPA in America into a single lecture hall and still have empty seats. Not because we weren't qualified, not because we didn't exist, but because the gates were closed. Accounting firms wouldn't hire us. Universities wouldn't recruit us. And most state licensing boards were dominated by people who believed black professionals didn't belong in the profession at all. So in 1969, 9 black accountants in New York City said, "We've had it. Enough is enough." They started NABA. And it didn't become just a networking group, no. It became a movement. They called out the racism in hiring practices. They created pathways for black students to enter the profession. They mentored, trained, and funded the next generation. And they did it with one powerful belief, that if we don't create the space, we may never get in. This wasn't just about math. It was about access. It was about economic power. Because if you don't have a seat at the table where the money is counted, budgeted, taxed, and invested, you don't have real power at all. And what's even more powerful is that NABA was never just about catching up, no. From day one, it was about leading, building legacy, and reshaping the profession itself. So who were the NABA 9, as they've come to be known? Let's name them. Ronald Benjamin, Earl Bigot, Bertram Gibson, Frank Ross, Richard McNamee, Michael Winston, Donald Bristow, Kenneth Drummond, and George Wallace. 9 men who understood that representation without infrastructure is a setup. So they didn't just fight to be included in the profession. They built an institution that would outlast them. So let's zoom out for a moment, because the fight to be seen in accounting, finance, and economics didn't start with the NABA 9. They were continuing a legacy that stretches back generations, across borders and disciplines. Let's start with the name many of us didn't learn in school. Benjamin Banneker. A self-taught Black mathematician and astronomer in the 1700s, Banneker helped survey the land that would become Washington, D.C. Yes, he used math to literally shape the capital of the United States. And yet, his name is barely whispered in textbooks. Fast forward to World War II and the Cold War. You've heard the term hidden figures, but it wasn't just a movie. Katherine Johnson, Dorothy Vaughan, and Mary Jackson, 3 Black women whose mathematical brilliance at NASA helped send astronauts into orbit and return them safely home. They didn't just do the math, they were the math. And they did it in segregated offices, fighting both racism and sexism while calculating the future of aerospace. And yet, no statutes, no monuments, no business schools named in their honor. But the legacy doesn't stop at the U.S. Let's talk about Professor Abdin Atangana, a Cameroonian mathematician who is currently ranked as one of the most influential scientific minds on the planet. His work in fractional calculus is being used in medicine, climate science, and engineering worldwide. How much time do you have? Because we could go on and on and on. We're not just talking about talent here. We're talking about Black brilliance in math that has moved empires, saved lives, and built nations. So why don't we talk about it more? Because for far too long, Black mathematical excellence has been functional, never celebrated, used, but not uplifted, acknowledged only when necessary, then quickly erased from the archives. And that's what made NABA so revolutionary. It wasn't just a professional association. It was a reclamation, a reminder that we've always been here, doing the work, running the numbers, building the systems, even when the systems weren't built for us. So here we are, more than 50 years after the NABA 9 decided to build their own table. And yes, we've made progress. There are more Black CPAs now than ever before. Black finance professionals are running firms, leading Fortune 500 companies, advising governments, and shaping global markets. We're in rooms our ancestors were never even allowed to peek into. But here's the part people don't like to say out loud. We're still outnumbered, still underpaid, still underestimated. Let's look at the numbers. Today, there are over 660,000 licensed CPAs in the United States, but only about 2% of them are Black. 2%. We've gone from 150 Black CPAs in the 1969 to about 13,000 now. Progress, yes, significant. But equity, not even close. And it's not just accounting. Only 1.4% of CFOs at S&P 500 companies are Black. Fewer than 5% of all partners in major accounting firms are Black. Access to financial decision-making, the kind that shapes budgets, builds wealth, and direct economies, is still gated. And now, the gates are being reinforced. We're living in a moment where DEI programs are being dismantled, where companies are quietly dropping equity goals, where diversity budgets are being slashed. The backlash is here, and it's coming fast. But what that tells us is this. The fight isn't over because the system is not yet just. It's just better disguised. The same ways firms once said, we're not hiring Black accountants because they're not qualified. Today they say, we're hiring the best candidate, as if bias and access no longer exist. And it's not even just about representation. It's about wealth. It's about power. According to the Rand Corporation, the median wealth gap in America, the difference between the middle Black household and the middle white household, is about $164,000. The average wealth gap, a staggering $840,000. To cut that in half would require $7.5 trillion. To close it completely, $15 trillion. So let that sink in. This is what NABA has always understood, that accounting isn't just about spreadsheets. It's about ownership, access, and yes, economic freedom. Because if you don't have Black accountants, if you don't have Black wealth managers, auditors, tax strategists, CFOs, you don't have Black financial infrastructure. And without that, you just can't close the gap. This is why NABA still matters, why these institutions still matter. Because they're not just helping individuals level up, they're working to shift an entire system, to build the pipelines, knowledge, and community needed to close one of the deepest racial divides in America. And in a time when DEI is being dismantled, when diversity budgets are being slashed, when the wealth gap is still this wide, and when so many forces are trying to erase our progress, water down our history, and shut the door behind us, we need to be louder, bolder, and clearer than ever before. We need to remember why we built these rooms in the first place.
Welcome to Vegas. That's what I like to hear.
Flow is about voicing our source, and our source is power.
So let's talk about the present, the moment we're in right now. Because on June 2nd, I'll be heading to Las Vegas for the 2025 NABA Convention. And let me be clear, this is not just another conference. This is the gathering for Black professionals across industries. Not just finance, not just accounting. We're talking about CEOs, investors, engineers, scientists, creatives, healthcare leaders, educators, and technologists. It's where legacy meets leadership, where the next generation of rising talent meets those who've been breaking ceilings and rewriting rules for decades. But it's more than networking, more than a resume boost, more than panels and keynote speeches. The NABA Convention is a statement of presence, a reminder that we are here. We are excellent. And we're not just trying to squeeze into someone else's system. We're shaping what comes next. Because here's the truth. NABA has evolved. What started as a home for Black accountants is now a launchpad for Black leadership across every sector of society, from tech to healthcare, energy to media. Any professional from any industry can now join. If you're Black and you're building something, NABA is your home, a place to get the skills, the tools, and the network you need, not just to succeed, but to lead, to build wealth, to drive innovation, and make real impact. And in a time when corporate America is quietly walking back its DEI commitments, diversity fellowships are being challenged in courts, and Black professionals are being pushed out, overlooked, or passed over, this convention, its resistance, its strategy, its soul, our soul. It's where Black professionals from across the country and across the diaspora come together to share tools, resources, and real talk about what it takes to lead in a system that was never built with us in mind. And let's be clear, this isn't just for Black professionals. This space is for anyone who believes in equity, who sees themselves as a real ally and who understands that diversity isn't charity. It's smart business. It's future-proof leadership. So whether you're an emerging leader trying to find your path, a seasoned executive looking to give back, or an ally ready to move from statements to real action, the NABA Convention is where you need to be. Because it's not just about what happens on stage. It's about the conversation in the hallway, the mentorship over lunch, the breakthrough that happens between two strangers who suddenly realize they're not alone. So where do we go from here, my people? The story of NABA isn't just about accounting. It's about access. It's about agency. It's about Black excellence refusing to wait for permission. From the NABA 9 in 1969 to the thousands gathering in Las Vegas this year, it's always been about one thing: owning the numbers so we can own the narrative. Whether you're crunching spreadsheets or crafting strategy, whether you're building businesses or breaking barriers, we need spaces like this. Spaces that affirm our brilliance. Spaces that amplify our voice. Spaces that remind us we were never meant to just play the game. We were born to redefine it. And if there's one thing this moment demands, is that we remember why we built these institutions in the first place, my people. Because history isn't just behind us, it's on us now. So if you're heading to NABA this year, come ready. Come ready to connect, to build, to be bold. And if you're not there yet, ask yourself why. Because the future isn't being decided later. It's being built right now. And we deserve to be in every room shaping it. So now I want to hear from you. Will you be at NABA 2025? If not this year, will you plan to be there next year? That's it for today's show. Thank you so much for watching. Now, if this episode moved you or if you learned something new, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone. Drop a comment. Subscribe to our channel. And consider joining our membership community where we go deeper beyond the headlines. I'm Sandra Babu-Boateng. Thanks so much for watching. Until next time, take care. Thanks so much for watching this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, don't forget to subscribe and join the family. Also, visit face2faceafrica.com for your daily news and updates on what's going on within the global Black community so you can stay informed.